Hello, Namaskar, and welcome to the CAA Show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis, and my name is Juggi Bhasin. Now, before I dive into this very interesting and I think a bit of a provocative title, and you all know who I am referring to, before I discuss all that, an appeal to all our viewers of the CAA Show. You see that red dot, you see that red point on your laptop screen, press it and do subscribe to us. We need your subscriptions. We need your vote of confidence to carry on with the CAA show. Do subscribe to us. It will give us the confidence and the encouragement to keep going on and on. Do share this video with your friends, because one thing I promise you, which I have been promising in all my episodes, that whatever issues, the hot button issues we talk about, the point of view, the opinion, or whatever else we talk about in that show is going to be different from whatever else you get on other shows. That is a promise. I always keep that promise, and so it would be also in this particular episode of the CAA show. So, no prizes for guessing. The X or the X-ray man or the X-man we are talking about is, of course, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I don't intend to make this episode as a kind of a spoof. That is not my intention. In fact, this is probably going to be one of the most serious issues I would like to discuss because of all the controversy that has been generated by the remark of Mr. Rahul Gandhi about that he would bring an X-ray if the Congress is voted to power on all the financial institutions and all the rich people and all the wealth generators and creators in India. It's a very serious issue. It has a huge impact on all our lives. I'm going to talk about this issue. I'm going to take a very detailed and a very close look at this particular issue, which means I'm going to discuss some salient points of the Congress manifesto and what could mean if the Congress is swept to power, what could mean for all of us. And also, towards the end of the episode, I'm going to answer the question that what drives Rahul Gandhi to be the Rahul Gandhi of today. He's also changed quite a lot. He has become a very different entity today. But what is driving him to become the person that he is today? You can call it maybe in slightly in comic overtones, the X-ray man of India in a certain way, because this is what he plans to do if the Congress comes to power. So what has driven him to become that? We're going to answer that particular question also. But let's dive straight into the topic, and here's what it looks like if assuming the Congress is swept to power on June 4th, 2024, that is this year. If assuming the Congress comes to power, then what are we looking at? Very simply, what we are looking at is that we are looking at the entire apparatus of the government, all our lives, including people like you and me, the general public, and it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or middle class, all our lives, everything will change according to a Leninist, Marxist paradigm. Absolutely no question about that. And number two, they might, even because whatever the radical ideas which Mr. Rahul Gandhi is now espousing, or the radical ideas which are now mentioned in the Congress manifesto, to get them going, there would be a Che Guevara. Che Guevara, as some of you might know, was that famous communist revolutionary who was a legend in his lifetime. So there might be a Che Guevara kind of enforcement that might be in the works for the citizens of India. These are two real possibilities if the Congress is swept to power in the 2024 general elections. So let's keep in mind that what could happen if the Congress is voted to power. In the short term, even before, because the election process is going on today, as you all know, the second phase of voting is underway, and there are still about 4, 5 or 6 phases of voting to go before we finally get the results. But in this interim period also, ever since this controversy has broken out and now people have taken a closer look at the Congress manifesto, one particular thing has happened, and now there is no going back to that. And that is that again, after so many years, again, wealth creation in India has become a dirty word. It took 10 years of the BJP government to erase the bad memories of when people who were wealth creators, they were looked down upon, they were reviled, they were looked up as thugs or as thieves or as Baron Robbins, whatever you want to call that. And suddenly after 10 years we thought that era had gone away, that socialist era, but it has come back courtesy the Congress party, the Congress manifesto, and the pronouncements of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Wealth creators and wealth creation is now in the bad zone. It is now what is called a dirty word to be looked down upon. No question about that. And we have to wait and see whether this is going to be a temporary phase or a passing phenomena or it will go away. We have to see. But there are straws in the wind. There certainly will be ripples created from this particular thinking, and they might carry on even if the Congress party loses in 2024. This problem is not to go away. Unfortunately, we Indians, India is beset with this problem that people who create jobs for us, people who create wealth for us, people who take this country forward, those people, the very same people, are looked down upon, they are taxed, and they are raided upon. They are almost terrorized in a way to give up their will. That era, that thinking is unfortunately back with a bang, especially if we closely read the Congress manifesto and we listen to the speeches of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Now, why I'm not here trying to frighten anyone, I'm not trying to create, as some of the other channels or YouTube channels keep doing, I'm going to keep this this entire episode based on facts. I'm going to be discussing facts here in this particular episode. I'm not going to go into flights of imagination, which other people, a lot of people do. That is not what I would like to do. I would like to stick to the basic facts. And what are the facts? What does the Congress manifesto say, and how do we interpret? So I won't go into too many details because that will take a huge amount of time. But let me give you the salient 3 or 4 points of the manifesto, which is causing a lot of worry. The first one, the big point which Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Congress manifesto is talking about all the time is redistribution of wealth. And how will this happen? This will happen based upon a extensive caste economic survey, which means when the controversy broke about Sam Petroda and his remarks, and the Congress party has kind of disowned and said, no, we didn't make those remarks. It's Sam Petroda in his personal capacity who has made these remarks. But the fact is this: if you are swept to power, if you assume the reins of power, and you order a nationwide caste survey, and to use Mr. Rahul Gandhi's phrase that I will be putting an X-ray on this caste survey, what does it mean? It means that literally people will be knocking at your door. You will have to open the door. You have no choice. And that's why I use the term that maybe there might, there's a possibility, a Che Guevara kind of enforcement. Tomorrow, if you don't open the door, then maybe the police could come and say that, no, you have to survey all your household. We have to survey all your household items. We have to survey what is there in your locker. We have to survey your bank deposits. We have to survey what all white goods, for instance, are there in your house. All that is a complete possibility. So door to door, there will be these enforcement people who will be going, checking on what all you own. That is a distinct possibility. If this kind of a caste survey would carry on, then they would be closely questioning you. What caste you are, what religion you are, what kind of benefits or what kind of benefits you don't get, or what kind of benefits you get. An extensive array of questions will come. You will have to answer that. There will be an enforcement of this. So that's why I'm saying there will be a kind of a strict enforcement of these. So let's not get swept away, oh, this is some innocuous, this is a casual statement which has been made in the manifesto. No, this is a very, very serious statement, and it will be carried out in precisely the manner which I am talking about, a door-to-door caste economic survey, and that is what the X-ray with Mr. Rahul Gandhi is talking about. That will be then put on every household. If you think it's only the Adanis or the Ambanis who would be subject to this kind of an X-ray, you are wrong. It would be every middle class, every person, upwardly mobile person. They would all be come under the lens. They would have to declare their assets. They would have to show these people probably inside their house what all. They might even open your almaris or lockers or cupboards and see what kind of jewelry you have. That is a distinct possibility. Let's not rule that out. So that is the first big change that the Congress is talking about. And it doesn't matter whether the inheritance tax comes or not. This by itself is going to be a draconian measure which is going to come. And everything is going to change after that, I promise you. Number two, they have in the manifesto announced what is called a Mahalakshmi scheme, which means that they would be giving rupees 1 lakh per year to the oldest women member of a household all over the country, poor households, whatever the definition of poor, and what is the percentage and how many crores of people, that is a little unclear, but it could be a mammoth number because yes, we are a developing country, but it's not that we have reached a certain level, threshold. We still are in many parts poor country. So there would be a huge number of households which would avail of this scheme. But the question which the Congress manifesto doesn't answer, and the question which Mr. Rahul Gandhi is refusing to answer is that where is the money going to come from? 1 lakh rupees per annum for one household would mean, let's do a basic math, about more than 8,000 rupees per month. Per month, you would be giving a dole to the eldest woman member of the household. Where is that money going to come from? Number three, they are talking about that improving the lives of 23 crore people, which means giving them more jobs. Because please remember, the twin attack of the Congress party has been that they are talking about unemployment and they're talking about redistribution of wealth. So we have talked a little bit about redistribution of wealth, but the other big plank which the Congress party has is unemployment. So what do they plan to do? They plan to give more and more government jobs. Now, the real question is, A, are there enough government jobs? Where will you produce more government jobs from? Or will you artificially create more government jobs to give employment? All these questions are not being answered, but we have to therefore interpret, we have to therefore assume that the major thrust of the government will be to increase the stakes in public sector units to bring back government in a massive manner. Because all over the world, economists tell us that you have to reduce government if you want a flourishing economy, a thriving economy. But the opposite is going to happen in India. That government is going to come back in a huge way, and practically every decent job would be a government job during those times. And if it looks like a throwback to the 50s and the 60s and 70s, and you're not wrong, this is exactly what was going on during that time. I remember when I was growing up, then the aspiration in life used to be to get a government job. You couldn't think beyond that. Okay, even doctors and engineers came secondary. You just wanted a government job when the time I was growing up. Forget about wealth creation or capitalism or and entrepreneurship. Those words didn't even exist during that time. So that era, Congress plans to bring back that era in 2024 if they are voted to power. And then number four, they want to give MSP for all farmers. MSP for all farmers who are producing cash crops. Right now, we feel the government is struggling to give MSP to the wheat farmers and the paddy farmers. And tomorrow, if all the cash crop farmers were to give MSP, the big question is, where is the money going to come from? Where will you take the money to give to the farmers who are producing these cash crops? The money doesn't exist, but you'll have to take out the money from somewhere, and I'll come to those points later. What exactly they might plan to do, I'll talk a little about that, but I'm talking of the salient points of the manifesto. And finally, and the last point, which I mentioned earlier also, they're going to put an X-ray on all, in the words of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and all the institutions. Now, what does he mean by institutions? The institutions. He is not talking about the Vigyan Bhavan, for instance, or he's not talking about the Shastri Bhavan, or let's say the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation Bhavan. No, no, no. The institutions he's talking about is the private sector. The X-ray, the government X-ray is going to come on the private sector, which means they're going to do two things. Number one, in every company, big, small, medium, they are going to find out what kind of staffing is done there. That means which caste and which religion, people belong to which caste and which religion, and then they are going to suggest, or not suggest, rather they will enforce changes in those institutions which work to the government diktat of wealth redistribution in an equitable manner, as they call it. And therefore it means if certain jobs are sacrificed or if certain jobs are added, they will have to be done in the private sector. These are the proposed changes. Now, I could go on and on. There are lots of other points in the manifesto, but these 4 or 5 points are critical to understand what the Congress is really up to, what they are trying to do. Basically, and now let me kind of paraphrase or kind of, explain to you at one go what exactly is the Congress party up to out here. See, what they are really trying to do is that they are trying to build back. There used to be a term used long back. Economists, of course, are very familiar with this term called the commanding heights of economy. The commanding heights were always occupied by government, by the public sector units. They are trying to bring back a 60s or 70s style of government control over India, where private sector entrepreneurships become bad words, wealth creators become bad words, and everything moves in a Stalinist, Leninist kind of way, where government controls everything. Government not only controls in terms of wealth distribution or redistribution, as the case may be, but the government also looks into your private lives. The government looks into it's a kind of a Stalinist society which the manifesto is promising, which will come back if these people are swept to power. Now, what are the dangers of that? I could give you a theoretical kind of a danger, but let me give you practical examples, let me give you certain images, which will actually make more sense to you to understand the pitfalls, the real dangers of this kind of thinking. My generation, when I was growing up, we have seen the Soviet Union. And I won't even give you examples from Indira Gandhi because you might be a little familiar with that, but I'll give you an example from there also. But I'll give you an example from the Soviet Union. When people like Lenin, Stalin, and I wasn't, of course, born then, but I was born when communism was in its heyday. I'm talking of the 70s, I'm talking of that particular era. During that entire time, the Soviet Union was this huge chunk of territory spanning not only Russia, but all the East European countries like Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and so many of East Germany, all these countries. It was like a formidable, it was a superpower in its own way. It developed. These things worked for a time. It used to be called collective farming or collective work in factories. It did work for some time, let me say that. But eventually it was bound to fail. Why was it bound to fail? Because at the end of the day, a very simple thing is going out of circulation, and that is the desire or the need to excel or to give your best, to produce more, to come up with invention, to come up with new ideas, to come up with new technology so that you keep abreast of things. Because at the end of the day, if everybody has a government job, if you're working on a collective farm or you're working in a collective factory, then you're just interested in doing a 9-to-5 job. There is no incentive there for anything else. And obviously productivity is bound to fall. And this is precisely what happened with the Soviet Union. People say that the West, especially America, Ronald Reagan and all the presidents which came after him, they were responsible for breaking up the Soviet Union. That is only partly true. The Soviet Union broke up rather, during that time precisely because of its own contradictions. Because there was no strength left in the Soviet Union, Gorbachev realized. I, by the way, had the privilege of interviewing Gorbachev in Moscow in the Kremlin when I was a television journalist long back. And the entire Soviet system came apart at the seams precisely because of the fact that there was no collective will to take the entire country forward, because enterprise to create wealth, the enterprise to do hard work had completely gone out of the Soviet Union. And that is precisely what will happen with India if the Congress manifesto, which is on the lines of the old Soviet Union Marxist, Leninist manifestos, the Politburo and the kind of things they used to do, if that is implemented, that is precisely what is the fate of India if we follow the same model, which is now being brought back, which was discarded 60s, 70s. That model is being brought back in 2024 by Mr. Rahul Gandhi and his advisors of hard left liberal friends. And here's the amazing part of both that time, and the same thing is happening today also. As I say, history repeats itself, and probably in a very dangerous way every decade or every few years. This is what is happening with us now. Even at that time, at the height of the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union was coming apart at the seams, nations were breaking away from the main country, that is Russia. And but even then, the rulers, they lived in splendid comfort. There is a word which was used at that time. Even though people are living in collective, they used to work in collective farms. They used to be these Politburo or these officials who used to there was one official attached to every factory in the Soviet Union, and they used to look after the productivity, etc. But all the top layers, that is the Politburo, the party officials, all the creme de la creme, that is the bureaucracy, the military and the bureaucracy, especially the bureaucracy which used to enforce the workings of the Soviet Union, which probably the same system will be applied in India also. But they used to live in great comfort as compared to the lifestyle of the ordinary citizen in the Soviet Union. There's a word which was used at that time called dachas. Dachas in Russian means this very splendid place of comfort where all kind of facilities are there. So those officials used to live in dachas. They used to lead a great lifestyle. They used to have these ZIL limousines, the top officials. So they used to lead a great life. But they would give the Marxist Leninist of redistribution of wealth kind of whatever to the ordinary citizen, that we are giving you so much, this is enough for you, you shouldn't ask for more, and even if you starve, it doesn't matter because others are also starving. That is the system which is being brought back in the 2024 Congress Party manifesto. So if assuming the Congress comes back, and there's a big if, assuming it comes back, not only will wealth creation become a dirty word, not only will wealth creators be ostracized, they would be hounded rather, I would say, by the enforcement agencies. But the first big thing I'll tell you what's going to happen is immediately, and supposing on 4th of June the Congress wins these elections, on the 5th of June, I promise you the stock market will collapse and there will be a flight of capital from India. No question about it. Take it from me. I'm not being Nostradamus out here, but this is something which is so predictable, which is going to happen. People, whoever has generated wealth, they all want to flee from this country because then everybody knows the regime. Everybody knows the changes which are coming. Everybody knows the kind of taxations which will come. Everybody knows the kind of x-rays which will be applied everywhere. There will be a massive flight of capital from India. That's the first thing. Number two, what's also going to happen is that your overseas investment is completely going to dry up. There will be no FDI, foreign direct investment in India. It will literally, in a matter of days, it will dry up, it will finish off, zero, negative, nada. Literally. Let me give you an example. Uh, I don't know if you're aware of the fact, but for instance, Japan. Japan has, Japan has a peculiar problem in their country. It's a great country, and we have to kind of really salute Japan and the way it has come out after being destroyed literally in the Second World War. But today, Japan, despite being one of the major economies, is tottering because of its demographic problems. Not enough marriages are taking place, babies are not being produced. Now, what Japan is doing is they are investing. I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, but they are investing huge amounts of money in India, especially in our infrastructure projects. And why are they doing that? Nobody does these kind of things for the goodness of their heart or just because they like Indians or nothing of. That's not the point. They're doing it because they expect dividend from India. They expect returns from the infrastructure. They are investing majorly. All our rail networks, for instance, our inner city train networks, a lot of Japanese investment in there and other places also. So they obviously expect dividend, expect a return that will come to them, and it will, and as Japan slowly gets eclipsed economically also, then these dividends, these returns will obviously help them. But assuming such a government comes, like the Congress government, why would the Japanese? And I'm just giving an example of Japan. Japan is not going to be the only country. It could be all other countries, major Western countries. Why would they invest anything in India when they know that everything will become state-owned collective PSU? We used to have this derogatory word in India called PSU types. PSU types, which literally means people who don't want to work, people who just want to while away time. They go for a 9 to 5. Rather, they don't even work till 5 o'clock. They come back from office by 4 o'clock. No productivity happens. Work gets delayed. People take bribes. And that's the kind of culture which prevails. So why would they want to invest in a country like that? So there's going to be not only a flight of capital, that is the entrepreneurs, the wealth creators, the startups, all the young entrepreneurs, all of them would like to flee away from India into Western countries or wherever else they want to go. Plus also the capital which is coming into India, that would completely dry up literally within days. And a third thing would be, as I said, only the PSUs and governments would be for giving jobs, because private sectors would slowly start shutting down. Because supposing tomorrow, if every factory, every industry, every unit, you start doing a catalog of this guy is from this caste or he's from this religion. Now I want to favor this particular religion because he is my vote bank, or I want to particular favor this caste because this guy will give me better votes, more votes during elections, and you are not selecting people on merit. Then those units eventually will finish off. The private sector will start closing, and as a private sector closing, more and more government will grow. And where will the government get the money from? That's the other question. The money is not hanging on trees. The money, where will you since private enterprise will completely collapse and dry up, so then you will start extracting the money from the citizens of India. And that is where this X-ray comes in. And that is where this malignant gaze of the state, this X-ray malignant gaze of the state will start kicking in, where you start extracting. Okay, supposing this guy, let's say he has one flat. Supposing, this guy is staying in Vasant Kunj, but we have found out he's got a flat in Janakpuri, so let's confiscate his Janakpuri flat. Simple as that. 50% gone. That goes to the state. I'm sorry. That goes to the state. And that's how it will be, because after all, you then need money to fund your government, your bureaucracy, your bloated bureaucracy. You need money to fund all your crazy ideas. Where will that money come from? Money then is not growing. Nobody is interested in creating wealth in the country. There's no culture of wealth creation. So you will extract the money from the public. And that is what the Prime Minister is warning about now. That because he also can foresee or see in the future what is going to happen, and this is precisely what is going to happen if this Congress manifesto is implemented. To say that, oh, this is a flight of fancy or imagination and this would never happen, excuse me, it has already happened in India. Nehru was exactly of the same mold, the same, if you look at the personal life of Mr. Nehru, he was this aristocratic kind of man who enjoyed all the good things of life. That's a separate story, I don't want to go there. But below him, it was like state, everything was state owned, government, bureaucracy, socialist, and all that. And Indira Gandhi was no different. Remember how she nationalized bank? If you didn't know, then she nationalized all the banks in the country, which was the single biggest issue which completely actually destroyed the Indian economy. People at the end of Indira Gandhi's time, she was in power for so many decades, and yet people were 2 or 3 times more poorer when she actually had assumed power so many years back. So it's already been done before. The same Gandhi family, Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and now the chip of the old block, that is Mr. Rahul Gandhi, intends bringing back that same era. So it has been tried before. It has failed completely, miserably. This is, in one sense, whatever he's saying is not something entirely new. He's saying it with a lot more force and vehemence. I can see that. But it has been tried before. It has failed completely, and it will fail again. I promise you, it is bound to fail again. So that's the scenario for you. But what, at the end of this episode, what I really want to do for all of you is also to give you some insight into why Mr. Rahul Gandhi is turning out to be he's turning out to be the extreme man of India. And I'm not saying this with derision, I'm saying this with all seriousness, because there are huge implications now with what he's saying and what he plans to do. So let me start by saying it couldn't have been easy for him as a young kid. I mean, I feel actually a little sorry for him. I empathize with him, because to lose your father the way he lost his father, and then please remember he lost his grandmother also, and it's serious trauma. And somewhere I suspect, and I am saying this not because I'm a trained psychiatrist or anything, but I've been a counselor and I have studied the behaviors of individuals closely. And from a distance, I somehow sense that trauma of losing somebody close to you, precious to you, has always stayed with him. And what happens is, when trauma stays with you, it makes you behave when you grow up in strange and in different ways. So the behavior is really strange to that extent, I would say. And I think that trauma has never really left him. So that's the first part of Mr. Rahul Gandhi we need to understand. And I'm saying this with all seriousness because I do empathize with a young man. He's still young comparatively. It couldn't have been easy for him. Now, the second part, and this is the more important part. I think, obviously, he has been brought up literally by a single mother, that is Sonia Gandhi. I am no one to judge Mrs. Gandhi, but from a distance again, I have to say that there have been huge gaps or holes in the upbringing. After all, if I was in her shoes, I would have first of all made the young man realize that if you keep, and these are his own words, I don't say this, but if you keep on saying that I am a high caste Hindu, Brahmin, or whatever he keeps saying, which is I find very odd, by the way, whenever he says that. But if you are all that, then first of all, please understand the aspirations of the 80% of the people of this country. What do they want? They don't want to subjugate the Muslims or the minorities. This is where you are wrong, which you keep on saying wrongly. They just want their place under the sun, that their civilizational aspiration should be respected, which he refuses to do. And this is a matter of upbringing. Shouldn't Mrs. Sonia Gandhi have told him that please respect the lineage you come from, the faith you were born into, and the background of this country and the background of the people? Treat all people equally, absolutely, but at the same time, don't forget that the majority of the people, this is what they are looking for, which is what he keeps defying all the time. So there are huge, I think, lacunas, there are huge gaps in his upbringing. And the most basic thing which I find so shocking actually, and at one level, if you see Mrs. Gandhi, whatever pronouncements she has made, and you see her videos, she does come across as this very nice, decent lady. She always speaks politely and well. But how come that Rahul Gandhi never speaks politely? How come, for instance, when he's talking of Prime Minister Modi, he uses the most offensive language a human being can use? Only 2 days back, see one of his speeches where he's referring to a 72-year-old man, the Prime Minister of this country, as tu, te, and ye aise karta hai, wo वैसे करता है, ये मोदी जो है ऐसा है या वैसा है. Who says that? And it shows upbringing, I'm sorry to say that. And this is really bad upbringing, and shouldn't Mrs. Sonia Gandhi have literally scolded him that how are you speaking about a senior? You might disagree with him, you might have different policies from him, fair enough. But is this the way you speak? Because these things, what do they show? They show this massive sense of entitlement. And that's the third point which I'm coming to. And that's probably the biggest point in this young man's career. He has never been held accountable. He has never been held accountable for his failures. Not by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, not by the Congress party. He has been held accountable only by the people of India, but he never learns from that. He doesn't even acknowledge that, by the way. Yeah, not even once in humility says that I'm sorry that our policies were wrong or we went wrong somewhere and we will try and do something better the next time. He loses again and again and again. And yet he comes back and speaking the same language with a new venom, with a new aggression every time. And now obviously he has broken all limits in terms of his total Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist, Che Guevara kind of enforcement of his wealth redistribution plan, inherent tax and what have you, and all these spectacular hard left ideas which he's now, and he's saying it in the most strident manner, using derogatory language for the Prime Minister. And this reason is simple, because he has never been held accountable. As I say, when children do something wrong, nowadays the age has gone, we used to scold them or we used to do whatever. That is, we can't do that now to children. But we can counsel with children, we can talk to them gently and tell them that this is something which you are doing is not correct. This can have implications for you. So yes, there was a time when he should have been ticked off by his own mother. I don't think so it has ever happened. I feel sad for it, because it reflects upbringing. It shows the young man, he gets away by talking rubbish at times, and you just get this feeling that this is, and if now the Prime Minister says that this is some kind of a prince or whatever, then you have to believe that. You have no choice but not to believe it, because only feudal lords and princes of old dynasts used to behave like this, the way he behaves. He doesn't care. He keeps on speaking in the same manner, and very simply bad upbringing. And finally, and the last point, and this is the point which is, I think I thought about it and I couldn't get it, that why is this party going down this path? And then it struck me that maybe he is following what is called a scorched earth policy. And I will explain to you what I mean by that. Scorched earth policy literally means that once you have lost everything, then you destroy everything, so that you make sure that the person who comes behind you, either that person also perishes in that fire, or that person cannot reap the benefits of what you are leaving behind. That is what is known as scorched earth policy. And somewhere I think maybe both Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, his sister, the family, they all know they probably might not win. They have tried this election after election after election. They probably will lose. But before you lose, you are making sure that you destroy everything that you are leaving behind. Which means that you want to muddy the waters, you want to polarize the country, pit caste against caste, community against community, region against region, North India against South India. You wouldn't even mind if the country is balkanized in a certain way. This is not something which he's saying. I'm just interpreting because he doesn't believe in this union of India as it is. So this is nothing else but a scorched earth policy where you literally destroy everything once you are leaving it. And that could be probably the biggest understanding we have of not only Mr. Rahul Gandhi, but of the whole family to what they are up to, what they are doing. It's sad, no question about it, that there's not everything which was bad about Nehru or Indira Gandhi. Give it to Indira Gandhi. One of the greatest victories this country has ever seen, the Bangladesh war. I mean, she was responsible for that, and we will always remember her for that. Though there are a lot of other things which she destroyed also in the process. Nehru, again, as we say, he built some of the temples of India, scientific institutions. Give it to him. He did all that. Though purely on the economy and especially on the military matters, he was a complete failure. So there have been contributions from the family, but you should consolidate on the good contributions of the family and build on something a little better, instead of you are becoming some unimaginably hard left, unrecognizable Che Guevara kind of revolutionary. Maybe all you need to do is to wear a beret, and then you become that Che Guevara kind of figure, that I am this great revolutionary who's bringing about this social change. Who, by the way, and last point, who has given you this mantle of that you are going to bring social revolution in India? Excuse me, who are you? You don't have the educational qualifications, you don't have the experience, you've never worked honestly hard one day in your life also. You are just sitting all across the world at the drop of the hat, and you have taken on this mantle that I'm this great social revolutionary. This is what you keep saying in speech after speech, polarizing things, polarizing events, polarizing people, polarizing communities, showing disrespect to elders. What else can I say? This is what the entire family has been reduced to. So good luck to Mr. Gandhi. I personally hope that they don't win in the 2024 elections. We will be saved of a lot of sorrow. The country will probably go back 3 decades or something, if supposing that eventuality were to happen. And more important, the Congress party is a very important party. It's a leading opposition party in the country. Hope there is sense left in some people in the Congress party. They take over the reins of the party from this lot, and that old, there were glimmers sometimes of a good Congress party, centrist party, sensible party, a nationalist kind of party which looked after the welfare of the people but also was strong on the territorial aspects, the security of the country. That kind of party emerges again. This is what we need, a strong opposition party, but certainly not the present avatar as it is today. And so on this note, I come to the end of this episode of the CAA Show. I hope you really enjoyed this. Rather longish episode, but there were so many issues to talk about. So once again, my appeal to you, to subscribe to my show, refer my show to your friends and colleagues, share this video with them, and we like to have more and more on the CAA Show. And so goodbye and cheers till next time.